So Sunday, July 11th, the moon is in Leo. It moved into Leo last night. We didn't really get a good kind of glimpse of what that energy was going to bring us. But with that being said, the moon in Leo is going to fire us up. It makes us a little bit more playful, a little bit more carefree. That heavy weight, that huge intensity from the new moon energy that we're still kind of in. We're still trying to shake that off. We are busting free of that heaviness, of that weighted heart energy. So with the moon in Leo, we are definitely turning the fire up, turning the passion up, turning the desires up. We want to cut loose. We want to let our hair down. We want to have a little bit of fun. It is definitely illuminating the inner child that Leo energy always puts the spotlight on. However, we have to keep in mind that the new moon in Cancer was very much about exposing the inner child wounds that we were carrying and how to mother ourselves, nurture ourselves back to a place of stability. We had a huge, intense energy put on us, and the moon in Leo is going to help us break free of that and try to raise the vibe. We have 5 different aspects taking place with the moon, and outside of that, we actually start the day off with a very interesting conversation taking place between Mercury and Uranus. So it's important to note at this particular point in time that Mercury in Gemini is almost game over. Mercury in Gemini, of course, was very divided, has been in Gemini for such a long time. We had that retrograde period in Gemini as well. And through the course of Mercury waking up and escaping his shadow period last week, now we are very much applying the pressure in our mental planes to ask the right questions, to speak our truth, to really, really define where it is that we need to go from here. And the pressure is on because this is Mercury's last interaction with a planetary body before switching into Cancer. So I want you to visualize for a second that all the planets that I'm talking about, they're all individual characters in a soap opera, okay? And when they are in a specific energy, such as Mercury in Gemini, that's an attitude, that's a whole vibe, that's a whole mood. And then when the planets move from one energy to the other, that's when their mood changes, that's when their focus changes. So, Mercury right now, still in Gemini, in his place of power, he's feeling great here. He's in his power. He's thinking clearly. He feels himself. He's, confident in asking the right questions. He's sociable. He's not timid to walk up to another person and be very direct in what it is that he needs to know. And in this situation, he knows his time is running out. He can feel his mood about to shift. And so Mercury approaches Uranus, the great awakener, the energy that kind of brings a brand new perspective into our realities. He shocks us, he awes us, he shows us where it is that we need to kind of break free from the old ways of doing things, the old ways of thinking. And Mercury in this mood, in Gemini, in his place of power, approaches Uranus in a little bit of a not aggressively, but aggressive enough that, Uranus is staying there. Holy crap, Mercury. Look at Mercury just busting over here. Oh, he is on a mission. What the hell does this dude want now? So Uranus has been in Taurus, shaking things up in our routines, in our relationships, in our finances, and shifting our perspective on new information coming in that will alter the course and the path in which we're walking into the future. So Mercury rushes up to Uranus and says, listen, I have to ask like a million questions and my time is very limited. I need to know, what is it that I'm missing? Where is it? Can I expand my mind? Where is it? Do I need to shake things up? Where is it that, that I'm still stuck in a rut? Is it my routine? Is it my relationship? Is it, my budget? Where am I being blocked here? Because I know that I want to move forward. I know that I have things to do. But for some reason, it just feels like I can't move forward. I don't have a plan. I can't really connect the dots in my mind, and I don't know what I'm missing here. And Uranus is very, very open to wanting to show Mercury in Gemini where maybe he can not be so divided between his heart and his head and the decisions that he has to make and the choices that he has. And Uranus is in Taurus saying, listen, you need to really take a minute and put yourself in the version of the dream, of the vision in which you're trying to actually manifest. Because your problem is right now is that you're so focused on how we're going to get there instead of just trusting that you are going to get there. So if you were to be able to close your eyes right now and let go of the what ifs or the shoulda, coulda, wouldas or the plan A, plan B, plan C, and making sense of how you're going to move forward, and just put yourself in the situation that you want to be in the future. What does that look like? Who's with you? Where are you? Are you in your same house, in your same environment? Are you moving throughout your day with the same habits, the same routines? Are you interacting with the same people? Are you, still spending willy-nilly, or do you have more money to work with? Do you have less money to work with? How are you making that money? Where are your skills and talents? Are you using those skills and talents to the best of your abilities? So Uranus is asking Mercury all of these questions, really putting a huge emphasis on the bigger, grander picture, the futuristic vision of where it is that we want to be. And Uranus is just saying to Taurus, or Uranus in Taurus is just saying to Mercury in Gemini, stop trying to figure out how it's going to happen and just trust that it will. Now, Mercury, I'm going to be honest with you, Mercury doesn't like that so much because, again, we really rely on being calculated, being logical, being practical, putting the pieces together, seeing a plan emerge. And that's not what Uranus wants us to do. Uranus wants us to project ourselves into the future, trust that it's going to happen, surrender to the universe, and allow the plan to organically fall together in the exact way that it should. So in a different scene in this soap opera, we have Venus, the goddess of love and beauty, worth. She's all up, feeling herself. She's in Leo right now. She's feeling it. She is passionate. She is fiery. She is fun. She is flirty. And she bumps into Neptune. Now, Neptune is the higher spiritual octave of Venus. So as I said before, if Venus is concerned about, her physical realm, this 3D realm where, routines and relationships and money matters and worth and, the physical aspect of this realm is concerned, then Neptune is her higher self. She is the spiritual part of it. She is connecting to the cosmos. She is creating different dreams. She is diving into her creativity. She's kind of like the ether of the physical realm, everything outside of the physical realm. So Venus being in Leo bumps into Neptune, her higher self, if you will, who is now retrograde in Pisces in her place of power. This is very much a situation where we have to recognize that when Venus is in Leo, we're thinking and feeling and projecting very grandest thoughts, very grandest visions. And Neptune, because Neptune is retrograde right now, this is about really asking ourselves, are we delusional? Are you serious? Because sometimes we get a tendency to dream too big of a dream that just, will never happen. And then, of course, lead us to disappointment because it doesn't happen. And then we lose faith and, we lose hope and all this kind of stuff. So Neptune right now is just saying to Venus, like, it's great that you have this vision, that you have this dream, but is it realistic? I mean, come down to reality just a tad. Are you lying to yourself? Do you really think this is possible? Do you think that, if you don't make any changes, that you're actually just magically going to align and be in the vision and the dream in which you're hoping to manifest right now? So Neptune, although Neptune doesn't really want to be a Debbie Downer, she wants us to make sure that we are aligned, mind, body, and soul. And Neptune retrograde, again, slaps the rose-colored glasses off of our face and asks us where it is we've set ourselves up for disappointment, where it is we have set ourselves up to be just totally derailed by the fact that we are going to be disappointed, that we're never going to reach the big, huge dreams that are just unrealistic. They're too dreamy. They're too big. And so this doesn't kind of bring us the greatest vibe. However, we have to keep in mind that Venus is about to have a big week, right? She's about to have a big week. And a lot of this is to do with Mars, her masculine energy counterpart, coming together and birthing a brand new reality. But in order for a brand new reality to be birthed, the old reality has to be broken down. And how do we do that? We swallow the truth. We accept things for the way that they are and not for the way that we want them to be. We fall in love with the situation that is and not the potential that it holds. And when we recognize that maybe we've been a little bit delusional, maybe we've been lying to ourselves, suddenly our reality shifts. Suddenly, the goals and dreams and plans that we've had for ourselves needs to shift too. We have an adjustment to make. Lord knows we've had a lot of realizations. We've had a lot of information come in that changes the game. And at this particular point, Venus almost needs to be smacked off her high horse right now in order to understand that, we're given a beautiful opportunity this week to create a brand new cycle. And we can't create a brand new cycle on the existing lies, deceptions, betrayals, and delusions that we've created for ourselves, that we, 100% are willingly playing along with in other people's situations and roles in our lives. This is a sobering time, and we really do have to come down to earth just a tad so that we don't waste this beautiful opportunity this week to give birth to something that can actually manifest here in this reality. So back to the moon in Leo. We have to remember that the moon is the lunar goddess. She rules our emotions. She rules our intuition. She rules our subconscious self. And the moon in Leo, fired up, passionate, ready to move forward, makes an aspect with Neptune. So as you know, Venus just had that little situation with Neptune, and now the moon is going to have that little situation with Neptune. And here's the thing, the moon in Leo, fired up, ready to go, just like Venus was, needs a little bit of a reality check as well. Now, Neptune in Pisces is about recognizing that we have to move inward. We have to align with our intuition. We have to align with our gut feeling. And after Venus got smacked off her high horse, well, we have to sit around and figure out, okay, how did that even happen, right? What are we being kind of guided to that we aren't paying attention to? We are given signs and symbols and synchronicities each and every single day, and a lot of us are blind to them. Why? Because if we acknowledge them and accept them for what they were, then our dreams and our bubbles would be popped. And a lot of us don't want that. A lot of us really want to escape. And that's what Neptune is all about. It's the escape artist of the zodiac, wanting to evade the truth, evade the reality, evade the simple fact that we ourselves have constructed a lot of lies and a lot of delusions around ourselves and around our own truth. Does it feel good? Absolutely not. Do we need to accept that this is the way that it is? Absolutely, because again, we're moving into a very opportune time this week to absolutely set in stone the new cycles, the new intentions that we have in moving forward. And we can't continue to build our lives and to build our dreams on a foundation of lies and betrayal, especially when it comes to not honoring ourselves, not honoring our truth, not honoring the intuition that we had, because many times, we'll get in situations, we have gut feelings about something, and then all of a sudden we ignore that. And then 2 years later, you recognize that this relationship that you had red flags in from the beginning is just absolute poison. And what do you tell yourself? Ugh, I told you so. So we're trying to avoid creating a new cycle right now that is going to end in us, our higher selves, telling us, I told you so. But in order to do that, we have to come down just a peg in order to get a realistic perspective on where it is that we need to go from here. So at this particular point in time, the moon actually goes ahead and sextiles the true node. The true node, again, is the destiny point. It is showing us the vision, the dream, the picture of where it is that we want to move towards. It's getting us back on the path that we might have strayed from, that is most in alignment with being able to actually bring this dream, this vision into reality. This is a good thing for us right now, especially being brought down a couple of pegs. Now we are kind of thinking a little bit more realistic. We've deflated the grandest vision, the grandest dream to something that is actually manageable. This is going to be good for us because it is preventing the amount of disappointment that we are going to experience when we fail to bring this big, huge, outlandish dream into reality. We're not going to be, kind of kicked in the gut when we fail to even be able to replicate or mirror this little vision that we are trying to manifest at this point. So the true node kind of reminds us at this point that, you can still have a vision that is a way better reality than what it is that you're currently living. We might have to edit and revise, your bigger dream down to something that is more manageable, but it's totally possible. Are you ready to get to work? So while this is happening, we have to shift our attention back to Mercury, okay? So if this was a soap opera, we're now in a different setting. We're back onto Mercury. And Mercury, at this particular point, shifts out of Gemini and moves into Cancer. So I am going to recommend at this particular point that you take a listen to July's energy forecast so that you have a full understanding of what Mercury in Cancer is now going to bring us, what kind of energy that is. But just briefly, Mercury, who rules over our mental planes, who rules over information coming in, changing our perspective, and of course, communicating, speaking our truth and expressing ourselves outward, is now going to get into this Cancerian energy. It's a water sign. We're already in Cancer season. We've had this new moon in Cancer. We're really not a stranger to the feels that it brings up, to the sentimentalness that it brings up. We are nostalgic. There's a lot of memories that are going to emerge, flashes, PSD, if you will, PTSD, if you will. You know how sometimes you'll get a flashback of a relationship that you just have tried so hard to block out, and all of a sudden you can smell things that remind you of that place, or you can hear music that suddenly is associated with that time in your life. Well, this is what Mercury moving into Cancer is going to do for us. Yes, it's going to make us think a little bit more nostalgically, think a little bit more about our connections, especially with our home and our family, our foundations that, are crumbling because we are given an opportunity to build and create new ones. And we're definitely a lot more sentimental and nostalgic and compassionate and empathetic when it comes to having those heart-to-hearts that we've been avoiding while Mercury has been in Gemini. Now, I want to remind you that Mercury went retrograde in Gemini and created a lot of chaos, created a lot of disagreements, a lot of disconnect, and we have been avoiding a lot of situations, a lot of confrontations that we didn't want to have, we didn't want to talk about. Mercury now moving into Cancer, we're going to have to talk about it. We got to clear this stuff off of our heart space. We have to connect in a new way. So this is, attachments in relationships that we have to clear the air in. And, there's a lot of transforming going through our relationships right now. A lot of relationships are dissolving and falling apart. And there might need to be a little bit of closure or a little bit of a final hurrah as far as speaking your truth goes before that connection is severed altogether. And in the relationships that, of course, we're going to continue to nurture and grow, we can't do that on a falsehood. We have to clear the air. We have to get things off our chest. We have to speak our truth in a way that unleashes the heavy weight that we've been carrying on our heart space and provide a space for us to connect more intimately with those that we love. So Mercury's now going through his whole transformation, and now we have to kind of switch gears back to the moon. The moon has 3 more conversations to have before the day is done. And the first one is not going to be a nice one because the moon in Leo sits across from Saturn in Aquarius in a retrograde. So as we know, Saturn is very much this military grandfather type of energy. He really thrives on karma, on learning lessons, especially tough love life lessons. He wants to make sure that we are, not living in delusion, not living in dreamland. He wants us to face our truth, our realities, and accept it for what it is and not for what it is that we want it to be. He wants us to make sure that we have learned our lesson if we are leveling up, which most of us are. He wants to really pull us through the ringer once again, remind us of the pain, of the suffering, of the challenges, of the obstacles, and really just ask us, are you ready to take this on? Are you ready to move forward? So again, we are moving into a week where we are giving birth to a brand new cycle. Saturn at this particular point really is trying to, I don't want to say deter us from kind of birthing this new scenario, but would be super happy if we were just to stay on the same level, to not really transform, to just, practice again or give it one go ahead again or rehearse it again and really just drive that tough love life lesson home. So an interesting thing here is that the moon in Leo wants us to think about just us. Like this is a very personal energy in Leo because we're only thinking about us as the individual. Me, my identity, what I want, what I need, what I desire, what I'm good at, what honors my heart, what honors my soul. And that Aquarian energy that Saturn's sitting in right now is more about how you can use your individual gifts, your individual talents, your individual wants, needs, and desires to contribute to the greater, grander collective. This is like, social responsibility at its finest. And again, like I had mentioned in previous weeks, we are getting to a point where we're tired of having to take action and contemplate and think about how our wants, needs, and desires are getting pushed aside in order to quote unquote do what's right for other people. Like we're getting to the mood where it's like, screw other people. Okay, they can worry about themselves. I need to put me first. I've been through the ringer. I need to put me first. I need to stop doing what I think society needs and wants me to do. And I have to start living my life according to my own plan, to what my heart and my soul are asking me to do. We all have a calling. And right now the callings are very loud. That's why we're confused, because our calling is requiring us to break free from the old restrictions, the old responsibilities, the old obligations that we had. And most of this is because we were living thinking that, sacrificing what we want, need, and desire, what our heart and soul was asking us to do for the greater, grander collective was the right thing to do. Except at the end of the day, who in the greater, grander collective is happy that you're miserable, right? Because you haven't been honoring yourself. You're not listening to your heart space. You're not, pouring into your own individual talents and your needs. Why? Because you've been doing what you think society needs and wants you to do. So there's a huge conflict coming up in here because, again, we are on the cusp of birthing a brand new reality. And here we have the Lord of Karma trying to remind us of maybe why it's safer just to stick with what we know. No, it doesn't feel good. No, we're not honoring ourselves. No, we're not following our calling, but we're also not drawing attention to ourselves by jumping off the plan that the collective's on, by abandoning what's best for other people to do us. And so there's a struggle that comes up here. And just as we, really get triggered, because trust me, this is triggering, just as we get triggered, the moon goes ahead and trines Chiron. Now, a trine is a good energy. This is a beneficial energy. Chiron is the wounded healer planetoid in Aries, very headstrong, very fiery, very passionate, very aggressive, but is also really representative of our identity, of our ego. And I'm going to tell you, Chiron is going retrograde later on this week, which means that this is likely the last time that, the lunar goddess herself in this Leo mood is going to be able to really have this connection with Chiron. And what is coming up here is recognizing at this particular point, especially after the conflict that we just felt, recognizing where it is that we're being called to do us and abandon our social responsibilities to the greater, grander collective, and where it is that we're feeling, pushed and pulled on how scary that is to abandon, the path in which we've been walking in order to jump into unfamiliar territory and start honoring ourselves and honoring our calling. Chiron says, well, geez, that does sound absolutely terrifying, but it also sounds very empowering, which it is. And this is the point in which we are at in our season right now, is that we're no longer comfortable in playing in the shadows. We're no longer comfortable staying silent. We're no longer comfortable going along with the rest of the collective, the rest of the herd, if you will. And we're really being empowered. Now, that can come out of excitement. It can come out of pure confidence. It can also come out of rage and fear. And sometimes, if you need to tap into that negative, what I call negative vibration of fear and aggression in order to make the change that is needed, then so be it. But at this particular time, the moon in Leo squares Uranus. Squares a tension point. It's a crisis point. It is like a, hey, not so fast. We have to think about a couple of things here. And as you know, Uranus is the great awakener. He is like a lightning bolt into our higher selves. Hey, you have to act as the observer here. Get out of that ego, right? Chiron very much wants us to stay in this ego, in how this, our transformation internally is having a huge, great impact on our physical realms, our physical relationship, our physical path. So that Uranian energy comes at a blast just when we're getting all hyped up and empowered to abandon the herd and go out on our own path. Uranus is like, hey, okay, we need to step outside of your little ego here and act as the observer. Step into your higher self. Step into the consequences that this may mean if you were to do this without a plan, without calculation. We have to remember we're still in the new moon energy here where everything is a little bit wonky. We are moving into a time where we have to kind of move through the process of our actions in our mental plane and our heart space before we can take them in our physical realm. And Uranus in Taurus is just saying, okay, I'm all for change because, of course, Uranus wants change. He wants us to break free from the restrictions, from the confines, from the old ways of doing things. He wants us to be progressive. He wants us to rebel. He wants us to be independent. However, he is in Taurus, ruling over our routines, our relationships, our money matters, and our plans for the future. So his big situation here with the moon in Leo is, okay, I'm all for you contemplating, going out on your own. However, I need you to think things through from acting as the observer, from seeing things from the bigger picture, the eagle's eye point of view. And I want you to really know in your heart, in your soul, in your mental plane, how you making this change, taking this action, creating this new reality is going to affect your daily routine, is going to affect your personal relationships, is going to affect your finances, your money matters, and how this is going to change the vision and the dream that you are looking to manifest moving forward. So we have a lot of contemplation to do. That heart space, that intuition, those emotions are fired up. We want to make a change. We want to take action right now. However, we do not have the green light go. We have to sit with all of this. We have to really refine this in our mental plane and in our heart space and make sense of this before we can go ahead and take physical action.